जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। शरणनाम संकीर्तन की। श्री श्रीनिताय गौरचंद्र भगवान की। श्रील प्रभुपाद की। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 16, entitled How Parikshit Received the Age of Kali. Text number 3. ājahārāśva-medhāṁs trīn gaṅgāyāṁ bhūri-dakṣiṇān śāradvataṁ guruṁ kṛtvā devā yatrākṣi-gocarāḥ ājahārāśva-medhāṁs trīn gaṅgāyāṁ bhūri-dakṣiṇān śāradvataṁ guruṁ kṛtvā devā yatrākṣi-gocarāḥ ājahārāśva-medhāṁs trīn gaṅgāyāṁ bhūri-dakṣiṇān śāradvataṁ guruṁ kṛtvā devā yatrākṣi-gocarāḥ ājahārāśva-medhāṁs trīn gaṅgāyāṁ bhūri-dakṣiṇān ājahārāśva-medhāṁs trīn gaṅgāyāṁ bhūri-dakṣiṇān śāradvataṁ guruṁ kṛtvā devā yatrākṣi-gocarāḥ ājahārāśva-medhāṁs trīn gaṅgāyāṁ bhūri-dakṣiṇān śāradvataṁ guruṁ kṛtvā devā yatrākṣi-gocarāḥ ājahārāśva-medhāṁs trīn gaṅgāyāṁ bhūri-dakṣiṇān śāradvataṁ guruṁ kṛtvā devā yatrākṣi-gocarāḥ ājahārāśva-medhāṁs trīn gaṅgāyāṁ bhūri-dakṣiṇān śāradvataṁ guruṁ kṛtvā devā yatrākṣi-gocarāḥ. Word to word meaning. Ājahāra, performed. Ashva-medhān, horse sacrifices. Trīn, three. Gaṅgāyāṁ, the bank of the Ganges. Bhūri, sufficiently. Dakṣiṇān, rewards. Śāradvataṁ, unto Kripacharya. Guruṁ, spiritual master. Kṛtvā, having selected. Devāha, the demigods. Yatra, wherein. Akshi, eyes. Gocarāḥ, within the purview. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charan Arvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. Maharaj Parikshit, after having selected Kripacharya for guidance as a spiritual master, performed 3 horse sacrifices on the banks of the Ganges. These were executed with sufficient rewards for the attendants, and at these sacrifices, even the common man could see demigods. Purport. It appears from this verse that interplanetary travel by the denizens of higher planets is easy. In many statements in Bhagavatam, we have observed that the demigods from heaven used to visit this earth to attend sacrifices performed by influential kings and emperors. Herein also we find that during the time of the horse sacrifice ceremony of Maharaj Parikshit, the demigods from other planets were visible even to the common man due to the sacrificial ceremony. The demigods are not generally visible to common men, as the Lord is not visible. But as the Lord, by his causeless mercy, descends to be visible to the common man, similarly the demigods also become visible to the common man by their own grace. Although celestial beings are not visible to the naked eyes of the inhabitants of this earth, it was due to the influence of Maharaj Parikshit that the demigods also agreed to be visible. The kings used to spend lavishly during such sacrifices, as a cloud distributes rains. A cloud is nothing but another form of water, or in other words, the waters of the earth transform into clouds. Similarly, the charity made by the kings in such sacrifices are but another form of the taxes collected from the citizens. But as the rains fall down very lavishly and appear to be more than necessary, the charity made by such kings also seems to be more than what the citizen needs. Satisfied citizens will never organize agitation against the king, and thus there was no need in changing the monarchical state. Even for a king like Maharaj Parikshit, there was need of a spiritual master for guidance. Without such guidance, one cannot make progress in spiritual life. The spiritual master must be bona fide, and one who wants to have self-realization must approach and take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master to achieve real success. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratushe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kancana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubheva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayati Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Guru Dematana. So I welcome all of you for the morning Bhagavatam class discussion. I'd like to seek blessings of all the devotees assembled here so that I can discuss and share something on this verse based on whatever I've heard in Parampara. So my endeavor will be to please all the devotees, the lordships, and for the purification of my own heart. So there was, fortunately there was a Prabhupada class available on this, and it was highly descriptive, 40 minutes of class. So most of the content that I'll be sharing is from Prabhupada's class. So Prabhupada started by asking like, where do demigods appear? It's like if you want a VIP to come to a place, say to our temple. So until and unless we have the necessary qualification, we do the necessary arrangements, and our reputation and everything matters, and then only a VIP would bother to come here. So similarly, demigods, they do appear in places like Parikshit Maharaj or Yudhishthira Maharaj when they would do sacrifices. And even these kings would travel, like the verse also talks about interplanetary travel. So even these kings would be invited to the celestial planets to attend the ceremonies there. Like we remember Arjuna traveling to Indraloka during the exile. So interplanetary travel was not a big deal during those times. So Prabhupada is telling that just like if you want to have a prime minister or president to come to your place, you really need certain qualification, after which only he would come. Like we had NVCC opening, so we had the honorable president coming. So we had Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, who made the qualification so that he can, who made our qualification so that the president could come. So same way for the demigods to appear, because a pure devotee Parikshit Maharaj was performing the yajna. The demigods would appear in the sacrifice. So other examples of interplanetary travel could be like Narad Muni traveling to different lokas. It's called a transcendental spaceman. So he can travel to any place at his own will. And then we know the pastime where Lord Krishna, along with Arjuna, went to the abode of Mahavishnu. In the same body. They didn't have to migrate into something else or create a spaceship or something. On Krishna's chariot, they went to the Mahavishnu Loka, and then they came back also, rescuing the sons of the Brahmanas. Then we know Lord Krishna went to Indraloka to gift Parijataka tree to Satyabhama. So similarly, when these kings, they performed yajna, so different celestial beings also appeared there. Other example is of Daksha Prajapati, elaborate discussion how different personalities were traveling on their vehicles to the yajna. So here there is a word called ājahārāśva-medhāṁs. Ājahārāśva-medhāṁs means to come within the purview, or you be able to see. So until and unless one is qualified, one cannot see the demigods or the Supreme Lord. So one has to make his own qualification. One cannot demand that I want to see. Like some atheists, they claim that I'll go on the top of the mountain and I'll count up to 3 or 5, and then I'll ask God to come. And if He doesn't come, that means He does not exist. So Prabhupada is telling that God or demigods are not so cheap that you call upon them and they just appear. You call upon the Prime Minister or President and he has to appear before you. Something like that. So quite foolish logic. So there is a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrit, Sthavar Jangam Dekhi Na Dekhi Tar Murti Sarvatra Hai Nije Ishta Dever Sfurti. So the Mahabhagavatas or great devotees of the Lord, they can see the presence of Lord everywhere, whether mobile or immobile, whether it's moving thing or whether it's a living thing or a non-living thing. No. Based on our knowledge, we can say that Paramatma resides in heart of every living entity. So we can accept Lord is present there. Or Andantarastha Paramanucha Antarastham, so he is present in every atom. So pure devotee is actually having vision that Lord is present in living and non-living both. And everywhere he can feel presence of Krishna. So how is a pure devotee able to see Krishna everywhere? So in Brahma Samhita we know, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So advanced devotee is advanced in his knowledge about Krishna and presence of Krishna. So at our level, how do we feel the presence of Lord? Because we, even standing in front of the deities, we may not be able to realize or feel the presence of Krishna. So Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita, we know this verse, Rasaham apsu kaunteya prabhasmi sasishuryayo pranava sarva vedeshu shabda khe paurusham rishu. So Krishna says, I am the taste of water, I am the light of the sun, and then I am the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras, and then sound in ether and ability in the man. So all these things are perceivable on a gross material platform, and that's how we can see the presence of Lord, even in the grossest of the things. Then Prabhupada went on to explain further when we understand the elements, the material elements, bhumi, rapo, analo, vayu, kham, mano, buddhi, revacha. Ahankar iti amme bhinna prakritir ashtada. So Krishna is telling that all these 8 gross, 5 gross and 3 subtle elements are my energies. So again there when we access matter, earth, water, fire, air, ether, we can see presence of Lord. Now when we see example of a tree or any living entity, so we know that the external body is made up of matter and there is spirit present inside. So next verse, Krishna says, Aparayam itastvaanyam prakritim vidyame param jiva bhuta mahabaho yayadham dharitam jagat. So there he explains that there is, so matter is the inferior energy of the Lord, and the soul, presence of soul, is the superior energy of the Lord, which is beyond the matter. So pure devotee, when he sees, he is able to see both matter and spirit. So a devotee who has purified his existence through devotional service, he is able to see Krishna in every step of life. And Prabhupada is telling that when rascals say, can you show me God? No. So Prabhupada is telling that until unless you have the necessary qualification, you cannot demand someone to appear before you. So we saw these verses as per Bhagavad Gita, how Krishna says we can access or understand Krishna's presence through matter, through soul as the superior energy. Then Prabhupada went on to explain where to begin with seeing God. So he says that you can start seeing God with your tongue. Sevan mukhe jivadu swayam eva spuratyadaha. So he was telling if someone prepares a nice delicacy, you go and ask, and the person, the cook says that I have prepared this, say gulab jamun. And then you ask, show me. So he'll show you gulab jamun. So when you ask, show me means I want to taste it. So Prabhupada is telling that when you ask, show me, you are expecting that it will touch your tongue and then you will experience what is cooked. So same way Prabhupada is telling that when you say, show me God, you can experience God not necessarily through the eyes, but through your tongue. When you chant the names of Lord, when you chant His glories, you'll be able to experience the presence of Lord. So, अतः श्री कृष्ण नामादि न भवेद ग्राह्यम इंद्रिये सेवन मुखे ही जीवादो स्वयं एव स्फुरत्यदा. So the material senses are very blunt and we cannot appreciate Krishna in the form of His name, form, qualities, pastimes. So when a conditioned soul is awakened to Krishna consciousness and renders service by using his tongue, so Prabhupada is telling primarily by honoring prasad, remnants of food offered to God, and by chanting the names of Lord, one will purify oneself and one will be able to access Krishna eventually. Then Prabhupada went on to explain the interplanetary exchange. Like in the verse it mentions demigods came and appeared when Parikshit Maharaj or Yudhishthir Maharaj did yagya. So Prabhupada is telling that you cannot go to heaven. He is telling that moon is a heavenly planet. So you cannot go to moon by sending Sputniks. Maybe they went somewhere else. So when one of Prabhupada's disciple, Purushottam, in 1969 when they claimed that Neil Armstrong and others, they went to moon. So this disciple of his came and he inquired, did they go to moon? And Prabhupada was very clear. Prabhupada didn't had to check the news, where did they go, all the analysis. Prabhupada said that they didn't go to the moon. And 30-40 years later we find someone else defeating the theory and proving how it's a conspiracy and etc. So Prabhupada is saying that just like you want to go to any other country, you need a valid passport, a valid visa. Even after you enter into that country, the immigration should allow you inside, even after you have everything. No criminal records or nothing of that sort. So many qualifications required to move into any other country. You cannot just take your private jet and barge into any other country. So if in this material world the laws are so strict that you cannot barge into any other territory, and people just by having an Apollo or Avenger you can enter into a planet altogether, moon landing. So Prabhupada is telling that it's a heavenly planet. You need to have necessary qualifications to enter into that place. You need to qualify yourself. And Prabhupada explained the verse, Urdhvam gacchati sattvastha madhye tishtati rajasa jaganya gunavrittistha adho gachanti tamasa. So he's telling those situated in the mode of goodness go to the heavenly planets. So that's the first qualification, that one who comes to mode of goodness can qualify to reside in the planets which are in the state of mode of goodness. And then based on the modes, the destiny is decided for each living entity. So he's telling that when you become competent enough and fit, then only you can enter into a particular planet. There's another verse, Yanti deva vrata devan pitrin yanti pitrivratan bhutani yanti bhutejya yanti madhyajinopi mam. So here in this verse Krishna explains that those who worship the demigods will take birth amongst the demigods, those who worship the ancestors will go to the ancestors, those who worship ghosts and spirits, they will be born among such beings, and those who worship me will come back to me. So I noted down the purport. I'll just read through. A very short purport, but very interesting. So here in this purport, Prabhupada says, if one has any desire to go to the moon, the sun or any other planet, one can attain the desired destination by following specific Vedic principles recommended for that purpose, such as the process technically known as Darsha Paurnamas. These are vividly described in the fruitive activities portion of the Vedas, which recommends a specific worship of demigods situated on different heavenly planets. Similarly, one can attain the Pita planets by performing a specific yajna. Similarly, one can go to many ghostly planets and become a yaksha, raksha and pisach. Pisach worship is called black arts or black magic. There are many men who practice this black art and they think that it is spiritualism. But such activities are completely materialistic. Similarly, a pure devotee who worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead only achieves the planets of Vaikuntha and Krishna Loka without a doubt. It is very easy to understand through this important verse that if by simply worshipping the demigods one can achieve the heavenly planets, or by worshipping the Pitas achieve the Pita planets, or by practicing the black arts achieve the ghostly planets, why can the pure devotee not achieve the planet of Krishna or Vishnu? Unfortunately, many people have no information of these sublime planets where Krishna and Vishnu live. And because they do not know of them, they fall down. Even the impersonalists fall down from the Brahma Jyoti. The Krishna consciousness movement is therefore distributing sublime information to the entire human society to the effect that by simply chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one can become perfect in this life and go back home, back to Godhead. And Prabhupada goes on to explain the first part of the verse, ājahārāśva-medhāṁs trīn. So, Parikshit Maharaj performed the Ashwamedh sacrifice 3 times, just to confirm his supremacy as the emperor. He has already established himself, but again, just to confirm that if anyone claims, we don't accept your supremacy. So Prabhupada explains the Ashwamedh Yajna. So basically in the Ashwamedh Yajna, what would happen was, the king or the emperor who wants to claim supremacy over the entire world, he would send out a horse, and along with that a troop of army. And the horse would travel into different kingdoms, into different regions. And if the king residing in that particular region or kingdom, if he doesn't accept this king, like here in this example, Parikshit Maharaj as the emperor, then he will capture the horse, and then the emperor will have to send his army and have a battle, and then win over, and then the king of that region would surrender. So Parikshit Maharaj was successful already 2 times when he had performed the Ashwamedh Yajna, but just to make sure that there's no one left, obviously to establish dharma. So he performed it 3 times. And we know the example of Prithu Maharaj doing similar sacrifice. So here in the class Prabhupada said 7 times. So Indra, Prabhupada is explaining the glory of performing Ashwamedh Yajna. He was telling that it's not an ordinary yajna. Even great souls like Indra in the heavenly planets, even they perform Ashwamedh Yajna. And Prithu Maharaj was to perform the Ashwamedh Yajna, and after completing 7 yajnas, he was to qualify as a competitor for Indra. And then we know how Indra brought in a lot of obstacles in the whole sacrifice. But then he said that performing Ashwamedh Yajna is a very expensive job. You really need to have a lot of wealth to execute. So I will see some example of how Ashwamedh Yajnas would be performed. So here also, Parikshit Maharaj in the verse it says, bhūri-dakṣiṇān. So Parikshit Maharaj, he gave huge amount or unlimited amount of charity. In the purport it says that kings would collect taxes from the general masses. But during such yajnas, the king would distribute it back to the common public. And that's why they would accept the monarchical state, where one king rules and they accept his authority. Then the next part says, śāradvataṁ guruṁ kṛtvā. Śāradvataṁ refers to Kripacharya. So we know in the Mahabharata war, Kripacharya fought on the side of Kauravas. But at the same time, he was a devotee of Krishna. So we know when Krishna went as the peace messenger, and then Duryodhana attacked Krishna. So there are three people who could perceive the Virat Roop of Lord: Bhishma, Dronacharya and Kripacharya. So though they were on the side of the Kauravas, but devoted to Krishna, but as a part of their responsibility, the roles that they were playing for Kauravas, they were on the side of Kauravas. So after the Mahabharata war, Kripacharya was selected as the spiritual master by Parikshit Maharaj. Quite a contradiction. We would not side with an enemy country's person, and he becomes part of our activities. Like that. And Kripacharya also accepted the role of spiritual master. So goes to show how these spiritual teachers or these teachers in general were duty bound. Whatever role they were in, they would accept the role and perform it religiously, irrespective of where they were performing it, on the side of Kauravas or Pandavas. So same goes for Dronacharya. So Dronacharya was the martial art teacher, and then Kripacharya was the teacher for the Vedic rituals. So here Prabhupada goes on to explain importance of Guru. So here it says, so we know that Parikshit Maharaj was a pure devotee. He's already had darshan of Lord in the womb. So one may think, one who has already seen Krishna, what is the need for him to have a spiritual master? Or what is the need for him of any guidance? Krishna is personally guiding him. He is setting an example of how he also required Kripacharya as the guide for performing the Vedic rituals. So here Prabhupada explains that one who doesn't accept the scriptural injunctions, ya shastra vidhimusrijya vartate kamakarataha na sa siddhim avapnoti na sukham na param gatim. So if one disregards the scriptural injunctions and lives according to one's own whimsical nature out of lust, one cannot achieve happiness in this life, or he cannot perfect his life. So Prabhupada is telling everything should be done according to the guidance and instructions of the acharyas or gurus and shastra. Then he is telling for any of the activities or any of the rituals to be performed, one needs to have the best of the people. Like he was giving analogy of if you want to file a case against someone in the court, so people try to hire the best of the lawyers. They go and check the reputation of the lawyer, how many cases he has won in the past. All his credentials are checked, and then they hire a particular lawyer. So same way he was telling, while performing Vedic rituals or while performing spiritual activities, the best of the acharyas are to be invited to do the same. Like for speaking of the Bhagavatam, we know that Shukdev Goswami was selected amongst all others who were also qualified to speak. Then Prabhupada goes on to explain the sacrifices of Ashwamedh Yajna and Gomedh Yajna, how they are forbidden in Kali Yuga. Like, what's the practical application of this verse in today's day and age? He was telling, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a discussion with Chand Kazi Chaitanya Mahaprabhu interrogated him, or what can we use? Yeah, questioned Chandkaji on how can you kill your father and mother. So Chandkaji is intrigued, like, who father and mother? No. So mother cow and father bull. So says, how can you kill your father and mother and eat them? So because cow gives milk, and the bull, without the union of the bull with the cow cannot produce milk, and that's why bull is the father. Right. So there Prabhupada goes on to explain that so killing of cows is a sinful activity, and one is implicated by that. One has to suffer for those sinful activities. There is said, Karanam guna sangasya sad asad janma yonishu. One is associating with the gunas. He gave example, like killing a cow, one would have to face the repercussions of that in the next life, in the form of whatever punishment. The next body would be a punishment for those sins. He was telling someone who is taking care of a dog and becomes attached to the dog. He is infected by the germs of the dog, he is telling. So he is associating with the gunas of the living entity, say a dog or a cat. And because he is associating so closely, he is preparing himself for his next body of a dog. He was giving an example, like in your country, in US, I heard that someone, just like we write will, someone writes will in the name of son or daughter. So like that, one person wrote his will in the name of his dog, and the dog inherited all the property that he had. And then Prabhupada says that the dog inherited everything, all the wealth that he had, and this guy became the dog. So that's the level of his attachment to his dog. So Prabhupada is telling that general masses do not know this principle of Bhagavad Gita. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tajantante kalevaram. So whatever state of mind one is in while leaving the body, one gets the next body accordingly. So this principle is very important to... so he extrapolates it, like just like here in this case we are associating with... if one is associating with a pet, a dog, and becoming attached, he is preparing himself for the next body of a dog. So same way, if one associates with Krishna, and one becomes attached to Krishna, so he prepares himself for the next body in the Krishna Loka. Yeah, analogy of iron rod and fire. Iron rod, when you keep it in fire, it becomes little hot, hotter. And then if it's continuously kept in fire, it acquires the property of fire. After that, if you pick up the iron rod and you touch anywhere, it will act as fire. So same way I was telling, the living entity may be conditioned with so many anarthas, and we may not be in a state, a Krishna conscious state now, but when we continuously associate with Krishna, then Krishna will purify us and will become qualified, as good as fire, will become qualified to reside in the Krishna Loka. So I said the easiest way to associate with Krishna is to chant the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So by chanting of the holy names, one is associating with Krishna constantly. And because he is associating constantly, he is preparing his mind to remember Krishna. There are other verses in Bhagavad Gita, Man mana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishya satyam te pratijane priyasima. So whatever activities you do it for Krishna. No? You surrender to Krishna, you bow down to Krishna. No? And then in that case, tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mamiti sarjana. So when one gives up this body while one is completely attached to Krishna, then he will never come back to the material world once he goes back to the spiritual world. Yes, so talking about why Ashwamedh Yajna or Gomedh Yajna is not being performed now, Prabhupada is explaining that obviously it's forbidden. He is telling that there are no perfect gurus now who can recite the mantras properly, and when you sacrifice an animal like a cow or a horse in the yajna, no one is having the purity or the necessary qualification by which they can chant the right mantras and the animals can get next life of a human being by which they can practice spiritual life. And second thing was, we hardly have any funds. So now we are seeing how countries are going bankrupt, because they aren't performing the sacrifice for the age. There is no yajna happening, there is no sacrifice happening, and over and above that, massive cow killing. So all the principles that Prabhupada states, we can see why a country could go bankrupt. Neighboring countries. So India also could be on that state, but because dharma is being reinstated, and that's why there is scope for improvement of the state of affairs, despite all challenges. So lastly, Prabhupada explains, so if we cannot perform Ashwamedh Yajna, we cannot perform Gomedh Yajna, then what is the Yajna or what is the sacrifice for this age? So we have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishnam, Sango Pangastra Parshadam, Yajna Sankirtane Praye, Yajanti Hi Sumedasa. So he says that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, he came in a form or in a color which is aKrishna, and along with his associates, who are his weapons. And the yajna is Sankirtan Yajna, which is very easy. I was just thinking while going through these points, like how chanting of the holy names, obviously we find even that as a challenge. So once we had one Prabhupada disciple visiting our voice COEP days, Dheer Shant Maharaj, he's from London. So he did one activity. He said that all of you can stand in your place. And same pose as Dhruva Maharaj. You fold your hands and you raise it. And then one leg on the right leg on the left knee, and you stand on one leg. And then he said you can keep standing and try to chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And then devotees tried it for a few minutes. And then we can know that Dhruva Maharaj did the tapasya for 6 months, standing on the tip of the toe. We could hardly stand for a few minutes. And then he made all of us sit down. So it was a funny event. But the lesson was that our condition is so bad that we can't perform any of the austerities which great souls like Dhruva Maharaj performed in the past. And he said that that's why chanting of the holy name is the easiest solution given. You don't have to do any tapasya. Then he said, those who do this activity of chanting is sumedasa, is very intelligent and has got the brain substance. And because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give this very easy process by which we can access Krishna, he says we should first worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu before approaching Krishna. So once in our voice, there was some problem with the garlands for the deities, the photographs of the deities, and one garland was not there, so we placed the garland on Radha Kunj Vihari's photo frame. and then we didn't place a garland on Gaur-Nitai. So the preacher who came, he saw that, one senior devotee from NVCC. So he said that actually the garland should be on Gaur-Nitai. No. So Prabhupada is substantiating that point here, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu before Krishna. Obviously, not to demean the position of Lord, but just to understand the magnanimity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and what he has to offer. So just by chanting the holy names of Lord, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one can perfect his life, and that's the ultimate sacrifice for the Kali Yuga. So, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi.